Hello, hello. Where are you people? Let's start again with still the topic about the chaos. So, this is the second part of the workshop and the panel discussion. So here we have still Grégory Guittard from Journal du Coin, who will still moderate the panel, and I'll let him present the panelists today. So the stage is yours, Grégory.
Thank you. Okay, so we will continue for the second part of the roundtable about the avoiding chaos again. So let's do that second time. So maybe just to, as for the first, to put some context, maybe if each panelist could introduce themselves again, maybe starting from you, please.
So, hi everybody, I am Marlene Ricard, partner at Deloitte, specialized in blockchain and Web3, and member of our worldwide digital asset council. I have 20 years of experience, mainly in risk and regulatory topics, and I discovered blockchain 7 years ago. So I had the opportunity to accompany more than 50 clients, both startups and big corporates in the financial sector, but not only, and mainly in France, but a little bit also abroad.
Thank you. Hi, BABACAR and SECK, founder and CEO of Petale Group. Our company is developing an infrastructure, platforms that enable investment on blockchains through real-world asset. We are developing these projects in a couple of years, and we are focusing on several use cases for tokenization, and we're going to detail those tokenization opportunities that require a lot of expertise in terms of process, but also in terms of competencies. And we do this for creating, contributing to the creation of this new Web3 economy. And we do it on a step-by-step basis, convincing investors, ecosystems, and also companies that are doing audits and helping to secure those solutions.
YANN FLOCH. I'm a former money priest, to sum up, working for an investment bank in this religion of money we all know today, and wandering for around 20 years and working for around 20 years on alternative money, complementary money, and digital money. And I work for a company called Trakx, proposing to institutional clients some potential investment in digital asset class.
Hello, I'm Federico. I am founder and CEO at Kleros. Kleros is a distributed solution system based on blockchain. The vision is to help resolve all of the disputes that are arising in the Web3 ecosystem.
Hi, nice to be there. And I am Sabine Van Eck Lepic, and I am chairman of the Logion Scientific Council. And I am lawyer, mediator, and specialist in new governance and future of justice in new technology.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Arthur. I'm working at EY Faber Novel, and I might be the degen of EY. I'm a bit of a dreamer. I wanted to thank you, David, for having me here today. I've had the chance to work with Logion around the digitalization of a piece of art, and I truly believe in the power that the tools that we will be talking about today are putting in the hands of the consumer and the internet user. And I thank you for the panel just before. I thought it was really interesting, and I'm truly convinced that when we find the value in the disintermediation and we give back the value, and we find a new creation tools to give back the value to the consumer and to the stakeholders that are not only the shareholders, but also the planet, the society, the employees, we will maybe avoid chaos and change the world.
Definitely.
Thank you. Okay, so for the next, let's say, 40 minutes, we will go through a sample of use cases that are trying to change the things, to create a new systemic change in existing models based on blockchain, of course, and the Web3 ecosystem. So maybe the best way to discuss about it is to go through project to project. So let's start maybe with you, Babacar. So you know my question. What are you doing today with the tokenization that really is changing the game?
Yeah, when we talk about tokenization, we are assessing the different opportunity that can be handled efficiently in terms of value creation. So we had been focusing on first about how can we tokenize a real world asset. So this was the first question we were trying to solve the last couple of years. And we very quickly, we have faced with difficulties of facing with, we call innovation resistance. Every time we talk with expertise and talking about real estate, for instance, we face with people that have expertise for years and years that told us it is not possible to tokenize anything on real estate. And we say, okay, we're going to take the challenge and try to solve the problems. And this is what we did at the end of our learning process and research. The second thing is when we change an asset class, then you take another asset class, like let's take gold. You take the same problem, you try to identify how you can tokenize gold. The first thing is you face the problem of licensing, of trading gold is limited to companies that have the license. And then when you buy gold and you want to retail gold, it's very difficult because you face with the physical handling of the stock and the security of all the stuff. And then you can change also go into the art and luxury product like painting. And in that case, you have also different legal framework that apply. So, and then you have to solve the problem. So at the end of the day, it was for us first about understanding how we can tokenize an asset. So what we did is we did a classification of different type of asset class that we can handle. And we come up with 27 asset class on our company. And using those 27 asset class, we decide to focus only on 4 at the beginning of our ventures. And this is what we are doing today. We are able today with our process to tokenize real estate, to tokenize commodities like cereal. We announced last year a deal of 100 million euro of cereal currently under tokenization process with Petale. We are still working with 2,000 agricultures in France through what we call a consortium of producer to structure this deal with them with the help of big bankers in France. So this is a long venture where the how is always taking place is how can we tokenize, and we were focusing about the methodology and the process to build up those different, we're going to talk about later on those use case particularly, but at Petale our job is to understand how we can do the securitization of a tokenization from a technical point of view, legal point of view, and a business point of view.
Okay, thank you, Babacar. Maybe, Yann, this one is for you. Sorry, we discussed what your point of view on the digital currencies, changing the way we were carrying out economical exchanges, things like that. So you're working at Trakx. Maybe you could explain us a little bit what Trakx is about and what you're doing.
So Trakx is a more traditional company in the blockchain and crypto ecosystem. It was founded by Lionel Rebibo and Laurent Barocas, who are my boss in the company. And the idea of Trakx was to told, okay, for each of us, it's quite easy to buy crypto, to buy a ledger, to go on an exchange, to realize a KYC. But for some institutional investors, it's a complicated process. or for somebody who is 60, 70 years old and who would like to invest in such an asset class. It seems stupid in the Web3 ecosystem, such an approach, but it's a reality for investors. So some people consider as an asset class, a new asset class, an alternative asset class, which are cryptos. It's quite difficult to enter physically because you have to do a lot of different process. Just for example, the ledger with 24 hours to hide something somewhere, sorry, for some people it's frightening, which we can understand and respect. For some of us it's exciting, but anyway. So the idea of Trakx was to tell to institutional, private banks, family office, little insurance, mutuals, to have an access, a direct access via a third counterparty, which is Trakx, to invest in this asset class. The idea behind Trakx is to propose to the client all the value chain, from investment to the custody of the crypto, even if, of course, we don't do it directly and we use other providers. But it's key because a lot of financial institutions, major or small financial institutions, need some third counterparties to invest in digital assets and cryptos because they believe in the future value of cryptos. And about future value of cryptos on medium term, I'm not talking about daily, weekly, monthly trading, which is another approach. But if you want to a macro approach on crypto and you consider that it's a good asset to diversify your portfolio for insurance, for mutuals, for whatever, on medium term, 5 years, 10 years, I think that mathematically it can be a very good asset class because the experience of... I was talking about this not far from here with a 80 years old mathematical researcher in Collège de France. I was surprised. I was tired, I sit with a friend in the area. It was around 1 year ago. And the guy began to ask us what we could do we was doing in life. And he was a mathematician in Collège de France. And he began to give us, he was around 80 years old, his view on Bitcoin value. And his way to analyze it is that if it goes up, the value goes up on medium term around 100%. If it goes down, it will be 50%. So the mathematical experience is 50%. So for him as a mathematician, on medium long term, it's a good asset class to invest. There is other bad points for Bitcoin or all this class of assets, but that's what the promise of Trakx to say some people could have an interest to invest in such asset class, and we want to propose them by an easy way to get in for institutions, for wealth, and that's what we do in Trakx. We are regulated by AMF and Banque de France, of course. So we were part of the first PSAN in France, and we work with the whole Europe, and that's the idea. So it's not revolutionary, but it's a way to give liquidity also to all the technology we know here, and of course we can propose Polkadot and DOT in our baskets.
Fantastic, you offer me a superb transition, so thank you. Maybe a question for you, Marilyn, and the same question for you, Arthur, about the, let's say, the perspective of the traditional economy. So it can be big firms, traditional system, things like that, about the potential move to the Web3 ecosystem. How do you see it evolving today with your clients, with people you're talking to? And you were speaking about institutions, so what is your stance on this subject?
Je vous en prie.
Okay, so what I can say is that since I got blockchain, I totally dedicated my career to this topic. So for sure, I'm fully convinced that the perspectives are huge, and also because this technology, the technology underlying this topic, is totally fractal and multifaceted. So that's why I see a lot of things behind, and of course I see companies moving, startup developing, and also Web3 companies going to Web3. We have done recent surveys at Deloitte, and I take my notes because I'm not very good with numbers. The survey was saying that 3/4 of the respondents think that digital assets will replace or be a stronger alternative to fiat currency in the next 5 or 10 years. And more recently, we conducted a survey with Comm, so it was a focus in France, and 2/3 of the respondents answered that they have organized or plan to organize a training session around Web3 in the next future. So in both cases, the numbers are huge, and it demonstrates the potential of blockchain-based business. Now, about what has changed? Well, despite the chaos of the 2 last years, I'm three years. I'm talking about the crisis, the health crisis, of course, the FTX crisis, etc. So, although despite that, many things have changed, and we have seen a big phase of acceleration of the adoption of Web3. Both for startups and for corporates. As an example, Petale, and I had the chance to work for Petale. It's a French crypto native player, and really Petale has bloomed like a flower during the last 2 years. So 2 years is very quick. And during this period, we also have seen major traditional players such as BNP Paribas, Société Générale, Crédit Agricole. My examples are in France, sorry. But they also have launched their own tokenization platform. So definitely, tokenization is spreading all over the world. And I think it's because today, the direction taken by history is that we have moved from a consumer society, a society of consumers, to a society of users. And these users need more and more flexibility and ultra customization, I would say. And this is exactly what Petale offers. I mean, you can choose how much you want to invest, and you can choose the projects in which you want to invest. So, from my point of view, tokenization is really the answer. And now about Deloitte, what are we doing in this ecosystem? What role do we play? Well, the DNA of Deloitte or other big fours are the trust. And what we do is also bringing trust in this new society, bringing trust in Web3, for instance, when we assess and when we review product or solution designed by a startup, such as Petale, before they launched the solution on the market. So we give assurance to the whole ecosystem. We are also financial auditors for startup in Web3. And we are also helping our traditional clients to, by training or by building proof of concept or etc., helping them to also to build a solution or tokenization platform in their company. So what we do is building bridges between Web 2 and Web 3, and help these two worlds, because it's not one world against another, but we help these two worlds to work together. So trust and together are, I think, the two key words describing Web3.
Thank you. So you mentioned something I think is interesting. It's the ultra customization. So maybe you're speaking more of a creation of a more community-centric economy. So I will switch back to this question to you, Arthur. What do you think of this potential community-centric future?
Well, I think, and to answer also your previous question, and maybe the discussion of how to avoid chaos, I think you have to imagine how terrifying it can be for a corporate to talk about Web3, because it concerns every seat around the XCOM team, every C-level. The CFO, he has to understand, or she has to understand how to accept crypto payment, how to pay people in crypto maybe. You are talking about it, Federico. I won't do them all, but the CEO has to understand it, the CDO has to understand it, the CEO compliance officer has to understand it. So that's where indeed, and I totally agree with what you said, the trust that are brought by, I try to be the ambassador of Web3 into Web2 corporate companies, the trust we have to bring to help them understand that they can go and deliver themselves the value that I hope they can deliver. I think the way to do that is for companies and corporates to become software companies and to be the platforms that are developing the tools for the community, for the users to empower themselves. And maybe if the added value for the whole community, the whole ecosystem is enough, then you can have part of that value, of course. But the idea is not to take value just because you are gathering data, being a tech company, for example.
Federico, maybe to continue on this community discussion. So you're from leading Kleros. So you said it's decentralized arbitration protocol. So for the conflict resolution. So maybe you could explain us how it works on the ground and
Yeah, absolutely. So people are building lots of Web3 applications that are meant like to at some point maybe replace the Web2 companies like YouTube, eBay, Facebook. So if we are right about what we are building at some point in the future, maybe not in 1 year, maybe in 5 or 10, we will have most of our interactions in decentralized internet platforms, let's say. There is one thing that most of these will have in common, that they will have disputes between users. Let's say you are building e-commerce, like kind of eBay Web3 platform, and then you have disputes between buyers and sellers. You are building a kind of YouTube platform, and then you will have disputes over copyright infringement between people who upload videos and owners of the copyright. You will have, this type of disputes also applies to, for example, NFTs. I upload an NFT, and it was made by Sabine, and she said, "You're stealing my work," right? So, you have lots of laws and other use cases. I don't want to bore you with all of the use cases, but there are other applications in content moderation, insurance, finance, and more the metaverse. So, either the team that is building the platform will resolve them, which is not decentralized, or they build a dispute resolution system that they do, and it's not the core business. The core business is to make their platform. What they could do is they can outsource or delegate resolution of disputes to a specialized agent like Kleros. So they plug into Kleros. There is a dispute between users. This goes to Kleros. Kleros selects a panel of jurors through crowdsourcing, very specific economic incentives, and in order for the jurors not to be biased, not to be bribed, and other elements to make it, trusted and secure. And then they produce a decision, and this decision is then enforced in the platform that sent the dispute, right? So it's a service, if you want, system for all of these new Web3 platforms that are emerging these days.
And how do you overcome the potential of the classical arbitration?
Oh, how many times do we... So Kleros uses a very specific mechanism based on economic incentives, based on the idea of shelling points. Because in the internet, when we started Kleros, for example, we didn't have an online identity system that you could use to know if some person was only, I mean, you can draw a number of jurors. How do you know that more than one of these jurors is not the same person or is not one of the parties? Since there was no ID system, the only way to create the right incentives was to use another economic model where you have to use a token that you have to stake, and this token is like you know, a lottery ticket that gives you the right to be drawn in the cases in the court where you want to work. So Kleros means randomness in Greek, and the system is a bit inspired in how the ancient Athenian court used to work, you know, popular trials. So Kleros draws randomly, let's say 3 jurors from all of those who made the stake of the token, and then these jurors will analyze the case and they will vote on the case, and they will be rewarded or penalized depending if their vote agrees with the majority or not. So this is in a nutshell how it works.
Thank you. Super interesting. Sabine, maybe because you're leading the Logion network. I think, I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, but you would tell me. So it's legal protection of tokens. If I try to summarize it, maybe you could tell us a little more about it.
Yes, I am mentioned earlier in part 1 that is very important to preserve democracy to avoid chaos. And with the Logion project, the objective is to insert pillar of democracy at the heart of Web3 transaction. And it's a new legal model, creative legal model, because I think it's a layer 1 or bis, because Kleros is a layer 1 for dispute resolution. So Logion is maybe layer 1 bis for the proof of law. But yes, I think I am talking, as you probably know, Logion has been created by David Schmidt, who is the creator of Polkadot, Paris.com, and also the creator of this event, and together with Stéphanie Flachet, Gérard, Elie, Benoît, Casey, Colin, and all the team. And what is exactly Logion? Okay, Logion is basically a blockchain infrastructure that provides to any token of any chain the protection of democracy. So Logion makes sure that your rights are protected with regard to the rule of law, because the infrastructure is monitored by both a decentralized and international network of legal officers and regulated professionals. So I think it's a big legal innovation, because the architecture of the platform and the nature of stakeholders make it possible to respect by design the separation of power and the necessary neutrality of interest. And I think definitely that it's a pure Web3 project with a non-proprietary technology monitored by stakeholders based on the Logion token. Yeah.
I have no part in Logion, but I truly believe in the project. For those who are familiar with oracles, and one of the main problems of blockchain is that information that you put on blockchain is then secured, but you don't have the security part of the veracity of the information. So I can put a lie in a blockchain. And what I find very interesting on top of what you just said is that the legal officers are the oracles in Logion, the blockchain, and they secure the truth of information put in blockchain, and then it is secured by the layer 0, yeah, being blockchain.
And it's like Kleros. Kleros is oracle too, no?
I mean, we aren't both in the business of trust, but I mean, Logion is more on the factual information of, you know, what is this document? Is this the real document or not? Kleros is more on what we call subjective oracle. It's about whether this complies with the rules of what was agreed in the contract. I mean, it's kind of both are oracles, but different types of oracles.
No, I just wanted to put ahead that sometimes developers and Web3 ecosystem forget human a little bit sometimes, and Logan and Kleros are here to give back human nodes to the distributed blockchain, and we often need it, and it's a real fantastic project from David Schmitz and all the team, Stephanie Fleche and so on, and it's key not to forget human, no matter what you code. Code is low, yes, but behind a code, it's like the language. A code is not just an informatical language. Behind a language, you can write good books, bad books, and such. It's perfectly key to have human people, enlightened people behind some nodes.
Yes.
And if I'm not divulgating secrets, we are at Petale working with Logion to see how we can incorporate this layer of truth on our process. And the idea is just building trust on top of what we are currently building. And we have found a lot of synergy on using this very innovative way, because behind a financial transaction, there is a commitment. Either it is a smart contract or a paper contract. On both cases, you have the law that is involved, and if you can automate that using an external blockchain, is just an additional source of trust. So this is why we work on that. But yeah, it was a point I wanted to add on that.
Yeah, as you said, so we're speaking a lot about blockchain, Web3 technologies, and all the, let's say, the automation stuff. But let's say that in fact, the more important things is how do you build trust? And maybe this one is for you, Marilyn. The audit is really fundamental to all of this project. How do you deal with this uncertainty of veracity in the Web3 ecosystem?
Well, first, I base the audit on my intuition. It's always has been a question of intuition for me with blockchain. I remember when the CIO of another Big Four, I was part of another Big Four 7 years ago. He asked me, "But Marilyn, why do you think blockchain will have a tremendous success?" And I answered him, "Because I feel it. I can't explain it, but I have intuition on these topics, and of course, this intuition is based on all the assignments I have at Deloitte in the past, and colleagues all over the world. We are more than 2,000 blockchain believers, and we are very, very well connected. Blockchain doesn't know frontiers of countries. So it's we work together and we share experiences, really. More than 3 or 4 times a week. So it's a very deep work to be always one step ahead on this topic. And of course, with my intuition goes, and the experiences of everybody, goes strong methodology. We are Deloitte, so we have processes, build tools around Web3 to check counterparty transactions, etc., and strong audit methodologies. Because of course we help our clients to transform themselves, but we also transform ourselves and the way we make audit. And for sure, one use case of blockchain is around digital identity, digital certification, etc. So audit is evolving also in Big Fours.
Thank you. Maybe Arthur, you want to bounce on this one?
I just wanted to add that I think, despite the question of veracity of information and data put on blockchain or not, the question is accountability also. There is a stronger accountability of people, because you are the one putting information on the blockchain. You are signing it. You are then having transaction around it. So there is accountability. Despite the private part, there is transparency and there is accountability.
Yeah, if I can mention this, because we are in the process of filing our licensing in France at Petale. So we are talking with the Banque de France, the ACPR, and the IMF. And we have seen that every time we address one of the topics that concern the licensing, the law aspect come every time. One of the example is the conflict of interest, for instance. As a company, when we propose an asset for being tokenized, during the due diligence of that asset, we have a lot of people and companies that are involved on that process. And one of the requirements of the authority is to be sure that there is no one that was on the process due diligence that contribute to the financial operation, which is a requirement of the whole financial market. And the only way to handle that requirement on a very efficient basis without having bureaucracy is using external oracle like this to be sure that we can connect a wallet with a transaction and a third party that can approve, okay? Because we cannot be the company that developed the infrastructure, that handle the processing, that do the auditing, and so that's why this third party is very important when we for the financial market. And there is two ways of doing that. Either we do just a DeFi for which we are a decentralized organization and there is no legal implication of the token issuer, and then the market is just exchanging the asset. Or you are under legal framework like Petale. We are in Paris, regulated by the European Union financial market. And in that case, you have to respect the rule of the financial market, which are a set of rules for which you just have to find a solution. So then having these to avoid KO, because KO, the guys, the founder also, because last week, I don't want to mention this company, but public bank in France, very big, that is just tackling a problem of conflict of interest publicly. And the CEO was obliged to explain that everything was clean, because the company processed this operation without not being compromised, okay? And when you come into the decentralization world, like the Web3, the same rule apply to all the company like Petale that have to put on the market because when you sold a 5-star hotel using the platform like Petale, it can sold out on 2 days, very quickly. And in that way, you have to demonstrate that none of the subscriptor was not aware of the deal before, so you have to protect the deal before it's public. Yeah, and so you can see every time we need additional solution, external solution to be integrated, and additional process reviewer like Deloitte or EY or whatever to just contribute to the solution.
Thank you, Babacar. Maybe Yann, you want to react?
Yes, I had just a point that I wanted to put ahead on tokenization. The main crypto assets are valued based on trust, only trust. Goodwill, trust, essential oil of trust. It's a new product, new financial product. It's very counterintuitive when you base an economy on cash flow. But for tokenization, it's probably key, and what we observe in ICO ecosystem in most of the projects is the lack of liquidity and the lack of capacity to defend value. And for this, and to come back to what Rafael Rossello was telling before, it's probably key to link the value of the assets to the real value, to the intrinsic value, and to the economic value at one point or others. And for this, we need specific exchange to correlate it, the real value, the economic value, the real world, and the financial world, the digital twins, as it's called. So it's probably key. And at this stage, the total free price is probably not totally adapted to tokenization of real economy. And I will remind, it's a cultural difference between different ecosystems, but I will remind that for bread, for example, in France, bread was defined by General de Gaulle after Second World War or by Charlemagne, by some rules defined by law. It's not communism, it's not planification, it's just willing to use law to define an economic price to some stuffs. And I think that blockchain technology and Web3 and Polkadot also has all the capability to define some economic price to some essential goods. And especially in the current situation we know with inflation, it's probably important to get it in mind with tokenization phenomenon.
Yes, as you were saying, the traditional system isn't going away. So maybe, Marilyn, you wanted to react to something that Babacar said?
Yes. It was about the question of trust, and Babacar and Sabine were talking about alliances, and I think it's a key point in the Web3 ecosystem. It's something huge, and you can't build this ecosystem alone. So you have several startups or corporates creating solutions all over the world, and they need to connect, to work together. From my point of view, Web3 it's like three-dimensional puzzles. Okay, and what we see today is that this puzzle is appearing, and at Deloitte we love technology, but we don't build technological solution. So to build trust to our clients, we have also made strategic alliances. For instance, a technological one with Ledger. Ledger. It's also it's another successful French startup that design and sells wallet for crypto, both for individuals and professionals. But the mindset is the same. I mean, they bring transparency and security, etc. And that's why we made this strong alliance to bring better solutions to our clients.
This metaphor of Web3 as a puzzle, pretty cool. So maybe you want to react, Sabine?
Yes, I want to say that Logion is a bridge between the real world and the token in a decentralized, je vais y arriver, way. The Logion is unique approach provide a robust solution for dispute resolution. Because in both traditional and blockchain context, it is important because tokenization will create new digital risk that need to be anticipated. And by combining the efficiency and transparency of blockchain with the nuance and expertise of human judicial officer, Logion is paving the way for more secure, trustworthy and fair future for tokenization on DeFi. I think it's the only way to preserve fundamental rights. And to conclude, I think that Logion gives birth a real living law by proposing, by design, a dynamic and constant regulation to maintain the constant rule of law at level without needing to have a new regulation for each new token. And it's what I say, a dopage juridique. It's an innovation in the field of law that is adapted to this new technological environment where we need to remain close to the real world and the real life.
Thank you. I think that maybe we just got 2 minutes before the end of this roundtable. So a last question, because we are talking about avoiding chaos. So maybe what is your point of view about the future CBDCs that are really the major trends that we are seeing for the next year? So I don't know if one of you want to take the last word on this, and I guess it will be the last question for this, this panel. Thank you.
Maybe I think that for all technology, all project, the key stuff is the seed and the soul of the seed of a project. So CBDC can do good things or bad things. It will depend on the soul of the seed of these projects.
Yeah, we had the chance 2 weeks ago to be being part of the Paris Europlus, where we had the chance to challenge the vision of the governor of the Banque de France and to understand what is his view and his organization about this CDBC stuff. And he was very clear, and he mentioned that the ecosystem of the crypto is very dynamic, and tokenization is taking a very serious role on their studio. And he also indicate that the euro will be, portion of the euro will be tokenized through the CDBC process. And I think it's something that we have to take into account very seriously, because it will gonna happen, and the CDBC money will be distributed using this very strong organization of the different central banks that already work on that. And we have to be ready with the tokenization to be able to interconnect those initiatives with the initiative of the cryptocurrency industry. And for that, we have to take into account certain economic fundamental aspects that are very important, is, like as you mentioned, YANN, is how to price something, because we don't have to create a bubble for a building that costs, for instance, 4 million, and we bring this building to 40 millions because just people are willing to buy the share of the building. So we have to stay on the ground, and for instance, creating models, economic models that enable a good pricing of asset and a good distribution of that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Federico, maybe the last word for you, your point of view on the CBDCs, because of your personal background. I think it
I haven't made my mind about CBDCs yet. There's people who are really paranoid about this, and there is some reason in this, as a tool of social control, if you want. There is something of that. But on the other hand, money is already digital. Under the form of CBDC or not, it's already digital. So maybe if this can help, onboard more people into crypto, why not? Right? We are going to have more people having wallets and sending payments. So more people into crypto, and then they will choose what currency they want to use. So that's how. But as I said, I'm not yet convinced.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Gregory. You are a good timekeeper. Let's take a picture, very quick. Stay in the room. We have our last speakers in a few seconds. Let's go for a picture.